welcome to day 21. I'm Andy, this is the Scholar's Box, this is the project we're making today. So yesterday's episode, you saw me making this. Today, we are going to make the cover for our book. How exciting is that? What we are going to need today is we're going to need some board. I've used the back of the photo frames, which if you've been staying tuned all this time, you'll know that was from the paper making video we did. What else are we going to need? You're going to need something to cut that board with. I used a little bandsaw, but you can use an actual saw. If your board is thin enough, you can use a scalpel. If you're using card, you can also use a scalpel. There's so many things that you can make this out of. You're going to need a ruler. You're going to need some scalpels. You're going to need a scalpel handle. You're going to need a drill. And you're going to need some leather. You're going to need some glue. I'm going to use PVA. You're also going to need a brush to spread it with. You're also going to need some thread. I've got fairly heavy duty polyester thread here. And a big needle. Optional extra, our strange tool from last episode. I'm going to use this basically to get in the crevices. So first things first, I have already marked off where I want the holes to be. I basically want to drill in some little holes where each of these lines intersect. And that is going to correspond to the holes that we made in the book. Do you see that? There's a hole for every set of leaves, stacks. But basically there's 7 holes. And for each part arced along, right? You see that? They match up. You're clever. You can do this. Off to the pillar drill I go. I have set up my pillar drill with a teeny tiny little drill bit here. I'm going to make sure that it is extra tight on there, because I don't want the drill bit to slide up inside the chuck. There we go. Drilled some holes. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we are going to want to put any decoration that we want on these on here. I've got a bit of scuffage on one of my pieces. I couldn't get completely clean MDF. So what I'm going to do to try and disguise that that's there is, first off, this piece is going to be going on the back. I'm going to make up a design. To all intents and purposes, when we cover this with leather, those parts will stand up. Kind of cool. I've already measured it out on this one. I'm going to measure 1.5 centimeters around the whole thing, and that is where our little skewers will sit. Then we're going to glue them down. You can use PVA glue for this, you can use contact adhesive, you can use all kinds of glue really. I'm going to use PVA because I wanted this to be a bit more accessible than some of my other videos that have involved glue. And I also didn't want to stink out my workshop again. Those two, that's the front and the back cover. I'm going to let this dry and I'll be back in a minute. Wash out your paintbrush. So these are drying up nicely. Whilst that's happening, I'm going to make the pattern for the cover. Basically the leather part of this. So we're kind of going a little bit, not on guesswork, I've been researching, but I've never bound a book in leather before. So this is definitely an adventure for us both. I'm going to basically put about a ruler's width around the book. And that's basically going to be the part that folds over onto the inside of these covers. So I'm going to move those out of the way. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that there's enough room between the boards that they can move. So I'm going to leave about 3-4 millimeters between each one. So that is the main part. When these are done, I'm just going to extend all the lines up, know where they go. And that is the main part of the book binding done. However, this particular kind of book is going to have 2 long tails that are part of the cover, and that is the part that tucks into your belt. Just going to extend my pattern paper. I have decided that rather than doing 2 tails, I'm just going to do the one foldy roundy piece of leather, so that seems more accurate historically. I also don't think it needs to be this long. I think it only really needs to be as long as the book. So I'm going to fold this in half to give us the height, and that should give us enough extra. So here's our pattern. What I am anticipating is dropping this to kind of about here, back up like that, so that this part of the leather doesn't fold over these holes, and then the rest of the leather will just fold onto here. The next part, we're going to need to sort of mitre these edges. Now, there is a cocky way of doing this, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to measure a couple of millimeters, enough to cover these corners, which is literally 3 mil, like that. And it is my hope that those will fold in and basically come together nicely. So, unfortunately, there's just not enough of this red to really go for this in the way that I would like. So, having to switch it out for this embossed kind of dragon skin looking stuff. How nice, huh? So, I'm going to find a place for this to go. I think there. While I'm patterning, I like to use pattern weights to keep my pattern still, which I don't think I've used in any of my videos so far, but usually when I'm actually making kit, I'll use pattern weights to keep everything steady. Because if you follow around like this, you move the pattern as I've just done, and that's not really what you want. It reduces the accuracy of your cut. If you're using leather, you can actually tape it down as well, make sure that they don't shift. Now it's time to cut. I'm going to use some scissors. By the way, you're going to need some scissors. You can use a knife if you want. I prefer to use scissors right now. And I'm going to cut on the inside of my gold line. Ta-da! Here we go. Here is our cover. This is going to be very kind of emo suddenly. I wasn't expecting to put a kind of black dragon skin book in my scholar's box, but
it's obviously for like a forbidden book of spells.
Basically what you're saying is this is clearly a Tome of the Pact for a warlock. We're going to turn the leather over. The next part is going to be putting the covers in. We're going to glue the leather to the covers. Right, so I probably need to go back and mark where all the lines are. Luckily, because I did it at a ruler's width part, it's not going to be that difficult. So this is where we're going to put each of our plates. The next step is to glue this to these, which I was going to use PVA for. However, I might switch that out to contact adhesive just to make it a little bit quicker. Feel free to use PVA if that's what you need, if that's what you've got. You go for your life. I'm going to use contact adhesive. Now, I really don't want it to go over this edge, because that will be seen on the end piece. Have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to square up the insides of these so that they're nice and flush. I'm going to try and get some of this contact adhesive off, although I'm not sure I'll have much success. So I may inlay a piece of the red leather into here and maybe cover this edge too. go. That's the cover sorted. In the next video, we're going to be relocating those holes I drilled, and we're going to be binding the pages in. I've been Andy. This has been the Scholar's Box. This is day 21. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. See you tomorrow.